What I believe makes somebody incredibly strong is being able to deal with their problems, challenges, emotions, heartbreak, whatever is going on in their life, being able to deal with it with nothing but their own mind. And in this video, just because I've been going through some shit, I'm going to talk about how I've been kind of dealing with it and how I approach it using nothing but this. If you don't know me, I'm Logan Lesser, a national motocross racer, having won over 15 state championships and an amateur national championship. I'm an extreme sports athlete and ran a marketing agency for over 4 years, growing it to $30,000 a month. And while doing so, was able to travel the world living in Cape Town, South Africa, part-time throughout the past few years. And I've spent nearly $50,000 on mentors, coaches, courses, and education, learning from the best of the best in business, fitness, mindset, racing, and so on. Now I'm sharing what I've learned and growing my community, the Champion Protocol, linked in the description below. All right, so like I said at the beginning, I've kind of just been dealing with some shit very, very recently, literally just within the past week and stuff. And by the way, you don't need to comment below and be like, I hope you're all right, blah, blah, blah. I'm fine. I'm good. Trust me. I'm fine. But I did want to take advantage of the moment to make this video and kind of talk about because the emotions are still high right now and I got shit to do, it's Monday and I got work to do. I got stuff I need to focus on. I got a jam-packed day-to-day of calls and just stuff I need to work on. I've got some new things coming my way in terms of opportunities, but it's going to take a shit ton of work in order to do it. So I got a lot to do. I got a lot on my plate and I can't let emotions and things get in the way of doing what I know I need to do. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to dig into what it is that has been going on my end. That's personal to me. You got your shit, I got my shit. But overall, it doesn't matter what it is. One thing I will say is that, which by the way, this video is not going to be very organized. I'm kind of just going to talk, but hopefully it's helpful to you. And to be honest, I don't know if you listen to the artist NF, literally NF, but I've been binge listening to his music over the weekend and stuff. And it is if you're not into rap, you probably won't like it. But if you really pay attention to the words hit you hard. It's good. It's really good stuff. And in one of the songs, and I think it's called Therapy Session, I think that's literally the name of the song. And at the end of the song, it's kind of literally just him talking, not singing, nothing like that. It's just him kind of talking and being authentic, I guess you could say, and just basically sharing how he makes his music not only for other people and stuff, but for him. His music is his form of therapy and his form of helping himself push through stuff and whatever. And that's kind of what these videos are for me. I can't fucking sing or anything like that. Maybe in the future, who knows? But I do want to learn how to play guitar. But regardless, I do know how to make videos like this, and I think I'm semi-decent at talking to the camera. So I use this as a chance to kind of share, stuff that I've learned, and also almost sometimes I'm even talking to the camera and I'm almost acting as if I'm talking to myself because it's helpful, it really is. It's almost like this is my form of therapy, and it's just me and myself, and this up here, like I said at the beginning. But regardless, what I was gonna say before that was that I have never once, full transparency, honesty, I have never once done anything in terms of vaping, smoking, weed, drugs, nothing like that. The only thing that I've done in terms of a vice is drinking alcohol. And literally I haven't drank a sip of alcohol, not one single sip, since my birthday, which it's currently July 22nd, and my birthday was in February. And what I had was a glass of wine. That's it. So I don't drink. The only time that I would drink was when I was in Cape Town and I was going out to clubs and stuff and kind of doing it socially and everything. But that's the only thing I've ever done. And the reason that I bring that up is because a lot of people, and I've seen this in personally, just with people around me and even family, they will turn to stuff like that in order to help them overcome their emotions and whatever it is they're dealing with. And it might be heartbreak, it might be business problems, might be financial problems, it might be just anything like that, and they'll turn to other things and these other external substances and stuff in order to try and help them get over it. But what I've seen from my experience, and I haven't actually experienced this personally because, like I said, I haven't done any of that stuff except for drinking. However, when it comes to drinking alcohol, one rule that I set for myself a very, very long time ago, because I saw the negative effects of it, like on other people around me, I set a rule for myself that I would never, ever, ever drink a sip of alcohol if I wasn't feeling good mentally. Like if I wasn't in a good state mentally, then I would not drink an ounce of alcohol, like nothing. And what I'm referring to is that if something was bothering me, or if I was down about anything and kind of just not feeling too great, maybe feeling a little sad, a little down, like we all do sometimes, then I would not have a sip of alcohol, because I never, ever, ever wanted that to become an avenue that I could turn to, that in moments where I'm like feeling down and stuff. I never ever wanted that. I always wanted to just face my shit head on, just on my own. Like I never wanted anything like that to become an outlet that I would turn to whenever I'm kind of feeling like shit. So that was a very, very important rule that I set for myself. But going back to what I was saying, like I've just seen so many times I've seen from the people around me, whenever they've tried to do that and use those types of things and these substances and stuff in order to overcome whatever it is that they're feeling, and try to just get past it, all it does is delays it. Like it doesn't eliminate it whatsoever. It just masks the problem. Like if they've got these negative emotions or whatever, just kind of going nuts in their mind, all it does is it kind of just masks it and kind of like cages it for a while, but it's still there. Like that stuff's not gone. And then as soon as whatever it is that they were doing, such as like drinking alcohol, as soon as it disappears, or as soon as like the effects wear off, then that cage opens back up and all that shit is still there. And a lot of times it's actually grown, and it's even worse than it was before. And the problem is that a lot of people, they'll literally just keep doing that and keep recaging it by drinking more, or smoking more, or doing whatever it is that they're doing, just doing more of that. And I'm not even just talking about substances and stuff. Like I'm even talking about going out and socializing and just doing other things and kind of getting your mind off of it and stuff. And that almost is a form of caging the emotions and all those feelings that you have, because you're basically just avoiding it. Like you're not actually dealing with it, you're just avoiding it, and you're just masking it and caging it for a little while, and then basically you have to deal with it later. But instead of dealing with it later, you just figure out a new way to cage it or mask it and stuff. Whereas what I've found for myself is that I like to just deal with shit head on. Like if I've got something that is bothering me or whatever, or I've got like these emotions that are driving me nuts, or just anything that I'm really dealing with, then I want to face it head on with nothing but this. Like nothing but me, my mind, and just kind of working my way out of it, or just like working on whatever it is that is bothering me and that I'm struggling with and stuff. And something that really helps me a lot, and this is actually with a lot of things, but especially when it comes to this topic in particular, since that's the topic of the video, is when I approach it in this way, where I'm basically like, for example, if I was tempted whatsoever, which I'm never ever tempted to like drink or do anything like that when I'm kind of feeling down. But if I was tempted, then what would come to mind, or kind of what I remind myself of, and even I'll just remind myself of this anyway, because it kind of helps me, is that I'll just remind myself that the way that I'm dealing with this shit, and just using my own mind to do it, and not turning to any external thing, and simply just looking internal and being able to handle shit from within and just with my own mind, that is something that very, very few people are able to do. And it's difficult, like it's not easy. Like it's very easy to just reach for the bottle and mask that shit for a while, or to go hang out with friends, or to go do anything else to kind of just get your mind off of it and stuff. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like I'm not saying it's bad to go do stuff like that and get your mind off of it and everything. I think that turning to substances like drinks and stuff like that, that's bad. But those other healthy habits, such as like, going and hanging out with friends, that type of stuff, I don't think it's bad. I'm just saying I like to handle shit head on, and whatever it is I'm dealing with, like even listening to music. Like listening to music, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video how I was kind of binge listening to NF over the weekend, and it was really nice, because it did get my mind off of it a bit. But at the same time, I mean, it did help me kind of work through it, I guess you could say. So that definitely helped. But at the same time, I have noticed that music can kind of just be a distraction for the mind. So it kind of just gets your mind off of whatever it is that is kind of bothering you and stuff. So once again, it's kind of this external thing that you're allowing to cage and mask whatever it is that you're actually struggling with. So I think it's much better to really just be able to almost sit in silence, like literally just sit in silence on your own and just deal with it within your own mind, and like figure it out and think through it and really understand why you're feeling the way that you are, and figure out what the next best thing is that you can do from here, because one thing for me is like I'm a major overthinker. Like I overthink everything, I overanalyze everything, and I will read into shit so freaking much. So with that said, one thing that I've kind of I kind of remind myself of whenever I'm dealing with anything is, if it's relevant, is don't make assumptions. Like only act off of fact. Like only act off of things that you actually know to be true. Like if like don't make assumptions about things, and don't assume that shit is happening, and then definitely don't take actions on those assumptions that you came up with when you're within your own freaking head. Like definitely don't do that. And this is especially powerful like when it comes to, I think, relationships and stuff, because a lot of times you can kind of get confused, or you can start to assume the worst, and you could start to assume that things are happening and stuff. And then if you take action on those assumptions because you think that she was doing this, or that he was doing this, or whatever it is that you were thinking about, and then you take action and on that assumption, like you might be totally freaking wrong. And I've actually seen it happen before. You might be completely wrong and just had the completely wrong view and perspective on the situation, and then it ends up turning into a big deal because you took action on that assumption. Whereas it's way better to just, like, almost that saying of in one ear out the other, except doing that with your thoughts, because it's like you're gonna have all these thoughts and you're gonna have all of these assumptions and these mental movies going through your mind of like, what if this is happening, or maybe it's possible that this is what's going on, or what if that's going on, or what if this is what is happening, like all of this stuff. And kind of just recognizing like, okay, yeah, that's possible, but I don't know I don't know what I don't know. So let's just leave that thought behind. Like, let's just get rid of that. Like, yeah, I acknowledge, okay, that's possible, but I don't know. Like, I don't know that that's what's going on here. So basically just reminding yourself, don't freaking make assumptions, and any thoughts like that that do come to mind, just recognize them and then leave them be. Like, don't take action on them, and literally only act off of what is fact and what is true and what is what is actually going on. Like actual real information that you have of the situation, and only acting off of that. Hopefully that makes sense, but I do think that that's a big thing with the relationship side of stuff, because when it comes to relationships, you can definitely easily make assumptions of what might be going on and everything, and then if you act off of your assumptions and you're wrong, that's what can lead to the bad shit. Whereas if you almost just have to be patient and kind of just roll with it and see what happens, and kind of, as you get more and more information and more real true information about what is actually going on, that's where you can connect the dots and really figure out the best way to approach the situation, if there even is a situation at all. Like, that's another thing, is that sometimes I'll even find myself, regardless of what it is, whether it's business, clients, relationship, whatever it is, like, I'll start to assume something is happening, and it'll start bothering me, and it'll start really getting under my skin and driving me nuts emotionally and stuff. And then eventually I'll find that what I was worried about wasn't even happening at all. Like, it was something just I completely came up with in my own head. So that's a big reason for not taking action on those assumptions. But it's also fair to say, like, don't pay attention to your assumptions whatsoever, because when you do, that's what can really drive you nuts on something that's not even happening. Like, I remember, I think I heard there was a statistic or something that only like 9% or something like that of what you worry about actually happens, which means that 91% of the thoughts and worries that go through your mind never end up happening. And think about how much time you spend worrying about shit and thinking in a negative way and stuff. And 91% of it is garbage, like literal garbage. And to be honest, I would be willing to bet that the 9% of things that you worry about that does happen is actually stuff that you're worrying about based off of real data and based off of real information that you have that would lead you to logically worry about that thing. Whereas the other 91% is stuff that you're just coming up with in your own head, most likely because you're bored, which that's another thing. I won't dig into that rabbit hole, but like a lot of times negative thoughts and all this stuff and wanting to turn to things like drinks or whatever, it actually comes from boredom. You're just bored. But I won't touch on that. Going back to what I was saying, like I bet that the 91% of stuff that you worry about that never ends up happening literally just comes from you making shit up in your own mind, and then you're just like so worried about it, but it never ends up happening because there was no reason to even worry about it anyway. Like that was never something that was happening or that was going on or anything worth worrying about. So, yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think that worrying is a bad thing. Like, I think that it's good to be consciously aware of situations and try and figure out how to approach things and how to solve stuff. But I think it's important to only worry about things that you actually have real data and real information regarding that would make it logical for you to worry about it. You know, like what I'm saying is basically if you notice that you're worrying about something that you have no real information or data or hard facts that actually back up why you're worrying about it. Basically, you're just making it up in your own head and you're making up all these like assumptions and you're making up all of these mental movies of like, well, what if this is happening? Or what if this is happening? Or it's possible that this could be happening. Like if that's what's going on and that's what you're worrying about, then eliminate it completely because it's a complete waste of time. Whereas something that you actually know, like some facts about of something that's actually going on, like that's obviously something that's real, that is worth worrying about or at least worth thinking about and logically taking action and figuring out how to solve, you know? So hopefully that makes sense. But anyway, I'm just thinking if there's anything else I wanted to touch on. Like the biggest point in this video that I wanted to basically mention is kind of what I said at the beginning, which is I think that the strongest person is the person who can handle problems, challenges, heartbreak, and basically anything that goes on in their life, being able to handle that with nothing but their own mind and basically just nothing but themselves. Like instead of looking externally to say other people or substances or things like that, being able to first look internally and try and just figure it out on your own within your own mind and be able to just deal with the emotions and face them head on, you know? And like I said, it's difficult, like it's hard. And that's something that actually helps me whenever I'm going through something is I'm like, you know, most people wouldn't be able to do this. Like most people would not be able to handle this the way that I'm handling it. Like most people wouldn't be able to stay this calm about this thing. And most people wouldn't be able to, you know, just be able to stay calm and logically look at this situation and figure out a way through it. Like most people would probably turn to the bottle or turn to this or turn to that or turn to that. Whereas I'm just turning here and figuring it out myself and just kind of like, you know, facing it head on. And one caveat to that I will say is I don't think it's a bad thing to turn to other people to help you solve problems. Like obviously other people can be very helpful. However, one thing that I think has been a mistake that I've made in the past, which is something I've actually avoided this time, and so far it's actually been good. Like I think it's actually been really good that I've been approaching it in this way. But in the past, I would literally, whenever I'd be dealing with something, like I would immediately turn externally to other people. Like whether it's my family, my friends, or whoever else, like I would immediately turn to them. But the problem with that is everybody has their perspective. You know, like everybody's got their thoughts, everybody's got their own experiences that's going to lead to whatever it is that they're going to advise you on or the perspective they're going to give you. And overall, it can lead to like a lot of confusion. And sometimes it can lead to actually worsening the problem that you've created within your own head. Like if it's something that you're just assuming once again, or it's something that you are kind of just worrying about that you made up in your own mind, if you start to turn externally to other people and share your worries with them about it of and all of that, then they're going to make it even more real by like having a conversation with you about it and be like, oh my gosh, like that really sucks, and here's how I would approach it, and you know what, this is what I think, and blah blah blah. Like them having a conversation with you about this thing is actually making that thing more real, when it shouldn't have ever even been a thing to worry about at all, because you came up with it in your own mind, you know? So that's why I think that it might not be the best thing to turn to external people immediately. Now, like I said, it's helpful to turn to other people, obviously, for help. But what I've done this time that I think has actually been very helpful is, instead of that, I've actually kept myself from doing that. And I've actually kept this to myself. Like literally not a single other person knows anything about what's going on in my own head and all this stuff. And it's not like that big of a deal. Like seriously, don't worry about me. Don't comment below or like saying, I hope you're okay, blah, blah, blah. I am fine. Like it is just normal life shit that you have to deal with sometimes. It's not a big deal. But you know, sometimes like it can be difficult emotionally and stuff. So that's why I'm making the video. But like I said, what I've been doing this time is I simply just turned internally and I was like, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to think about it and see kind of what is logically worth worrying about, and if this is even a problem at all, and what is like real and what's the facts and what isn't, and then just kind of take it as we go and kind of see what happens, you know? And yeah, and instead of turning to other people and being like, hey, like, what do you think? Because I'm not really sure, like, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you know, to be honest, I think that this looks like blah, 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 blah. And then once again, it's literally just like branching out into all of these different freaking perspectives of what might be going on and stuff, when there may not be anything going on at all. It is literally just me coming up with a bunch of stupid shit. And then as soon as you start turning to other people and getting their opinions and perspectives, then it turns into something real. But then they'll start planning shit into your head that you didn't even think about before. And that's what I meant by it can make it even worse. Because you might not have even thought of this thing, but they did. And now they've planted it in your head. But once again, you have no real information or data backing up whether or not that's actually happening or true. But now it's in your head, so it is bothering you. So yeah. But anyway, I'm probably going to end it off with that, which is in summary, just I think it's really important to, whenever shit is going on, just really be able to, or practice kind of dealing with it internally without like turning to anything or anyone externally, at least immediately. Like at least when the thing is first happening, depending on what it is, obviously. But for like most things, I'd say, in most situations, like I do think it is the best thing to turn internally and to try and just figure it out and to face it head on, instead of trying to mask it or cage whatever it is that you're dealing with, or turning to other people so that they can give you their opinion and perspective on something that they have zero freaking clue about, or that they have no information about, or anything like that. Once again, also depends on the situation. But yeah, anyway, hopefully that was helpful. If it was, and you want more videos like this, as well as videos that literally have like nothing to do with what I talked about this video and stuff that's more towards racing motocross and everything like that, then feel free to subscribe. But with that being said, I will see you in the next video. Peace.